All right, so this is the One of None podcast, our first episode. Just going to introduce ourselves. My name is Jonah Casella. I'm a doctor of optometry in the Allentown, Pennsylvania area, originally from Spring Church or Apollo, Pennsylvania, and some parts outside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm Andrew Ganung. I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. Um, and I'll kind of take the lead on this, Jonah. We met in college our freshman year. We were both in a class together, and I was studying pre-physical therapy, and he was you were pre-optometry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we were both in the sciences, and we met each other through that. And then I think it was just bio class, right? We just kind of met each other,
Yeah.
and we were kind of in the same group, and then
Mm-hmm.
started to talk a little bit more in science in our bio class. One of our 15 probably bio classes that we took together,
Yeah, literally.
and then after that, we really just developed a friendship. Um, and it grew over the years into almost like a brotherhood. I think we call each other blood. So I feel like that has been exponentially grown, or has exponentially grown since we really became friends. In meeting in bio class. I don't know if you want to add to that, but that was the
Yeah.
initial stages of it.
Yeah. So the first time that we actually talked was on we were doing a lab, but it was outdoors. We were collecting like pond water for like
I
microorganisms or
know.
something.
Yeah.
And like this is like a couple weeks or so into the semester. It wasn't like off the jump, but we started talking about like lifting and stuff. And I remember you saying that like I never lifted legs whatsoever until I met you. I swear to God. And I remember you saying that you were lifting legs every single day for like a month or something. That was your plan off of some bodybuilder that was doing it or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, this kid's a psycho. I need to lift with him. And so then we just like exchanged numbers and kind of went from there.
I do remember that now. I didn't remember that as like our initial, like I don't remember that. I know who the guy is. It was Mike Rashid. He was like this big bodybuilder guy, and he was doing like, or maybe it was like Corey Gregory. Gregory's an Ohio guy, and yeah, he was doing some like crazy challenge thing, and I wanted
Yeah.
massive legs. But at the time, I mean, that was when we really started picking that up a lot more when we started hanging out with like Chris and Brady and all them. That was when we started picking it up more. But yeah, so we were in class together for a while, and then after that, we kept we started studying for exams together, and then that was when it really started to click for us. Was so I mean, we can talk about our backgrounds a little bit too.
Oh
I
yeah.
think we're gonna go down a different path
I
now if
know.
we're
We're
gonna
gonna
start
start
talking
rolling.
about that. But
Uh-huh.
I'll start out and say that my dad wasn't the type of person that forced anything on me, forced the straight A's or anything. I was not a straight A student in high school. I'll tell you that much. I cared a lot about pretty much anything besides school. And so that's why, I think um, you and I came from very different backgrounds. I just didn't care. I didn't care as much in high school. And then I think you can kind of elaborate on you were the polar opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad was the opposite of that, where it was A's or nothing. Um, there was a very high standard that he held for me. Where he's super strict, had to get A's. He was like on me constantly about that. If I got a B, it was a problem. So he was really strict, even just in high school, the whole way through. Very goal oriented person. So like he was locked in from the beginning with my schoolwork, and then establishing plans for what I was going to go to school for, getting on top of taking AP classes, getting college credits through high school ahead of time. So it was very, very strict, the way that I was raised with that, and kind of instilled a significant work ethic really early on for me.
Yeah. No, I think it's a cool dichotomy though between us that we have. I think so. We call this I'm going to digress for a second and
Sure.
talk about, the rationale behind starting the podcast.
Hmm.
Um, Jonah and I talk a lot about, growth mindset. We've had this kind of mindset since we really met each other, since we started to push each other in school when we were studying for exams. We started to kind of realize that we were cut from the same cloth, together, but we were cut very differently than a lot of other people. And we kind of saw that early on. And so we ran with that. And we have a mentality. We were trying to come up with names for this podcast. And, we were thinking about something that related well to it. And so, we think a lot about just growth mindset, success, wanting to be financially independent at a young age, leading by example with whatever we're doing in life. And so we came to the conclusion of calling this the one of none, or one of zero. We're going with one of none with it, but it really is just like you are. You're one of zero. There's no one else that you're able to compete with because you're out competing everyone else. And I think there's a cool double entendre with the name of it is whether it's against yourself or you against your competitor. I mean, you can take it as you wish. You can run with it, and that's it. You're one of none. You are uncommon amongst uncommon people, and that's the idea behind it, is living a mentality of like do or die essentially. And I think some people can laugh at that and that and say, oh, you're taking it too seriously, but if we took it too seriously, we wouldn't be where we're at right now.
Hmm.
So I think, Jonah, you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, no, actually, I thought about this recently. Just I forget what sparked this, who it was that made me think about this, but there were so many times throughout even high school, but especially in undergrad when we were grinding in the library, like people were out drinking and stuff like that, and we were in the library till 2 a.m., shutting the library down, um, like on a regular basis. And I kept thinking about like I'm gonna suffer now because later on and not too far down the road, things will be better. And that was kind of always my mentality, and I think that's what yours is too. I know that's what yours is too. Because there's people out there that decided that during college that they were not going to take it seriously. They were going to have that was their time to have a bunch of fun and not take their future that seriously. And now they're suffering for it, right? Like I have like friends that I will name that have gone through undergrad plus more years of undergrad and still don't have a career yet. We're 26 years old, and we're doctors now, and we're still grinders though. So like we never let that lifestyle go, but we just from an early on decided that we were going to suffer earlier in life so that we'd be better off later. And I think that we just keep going.
Yeah, and I want to put a disclaimer out there because there's probably going to be some people that get offended by stuff that we say, but that the because there's always people, but there. Let's just. I'm going to preface this whole entire podcast and say, whatever you are doing, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. It's just not what we're doing. Like when Jonah says that, like they're still finding a career, that's fine. It takes people time to find careers.
Everybody has a different path.
Yeah, everyone has a different path, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I'm going to say that.
Yeah. Sorry. That
No,
sounded
no,
harsh,
no.
but
I know, no, it wasn't harsh at all. But that there's always, there's people that want to see both sides of it, and so I want to make sure that we touch that, is because there ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just that's and they're that's what this podcast is for too, right? Like I think that's a cool way and like segue as we transition to a lot of these like upcoming podcasts, is talking about this lifestyle. Is it's not, you're seeing it from my perspective, where I came, from a background where this was not pushed on me. But I was lucky enough to be with Jonah and meet him. And a lot of, I feel like a lot of our other friends are similarly cut out like
sure.
this
Yeah.
too. But I was lucky enough to be surrounded by someone like Jonah who was able to push me to that level. And I'm super grateful for that. I owe a lot. I credit him with a lot of my work ethic. Obviously my dad is someone too, and your dad as well, Jonah. But like, I owe Jonah a lot of credit for my habits and routines that I developed early on, and like the kind of the type A lifestyle I've developed. It was really because of him. Because of the routines that you instilled in me when we became friends and during our time at school, and exceeding expectations and whatnot. But that's the thing about this podcast, is it's not like it has to be instilled from a very young age. You see Jonah's perspective, which, Jonah, I mean, look at it. It worked out for you very well.
Right. Yeah. I
And
mean,
then there's
certainly.
also me as well. We have the two different perspectives. And, Jonah and I talk about, we talk about the term of like a bricklayer, because you hear brick by brick, like you hear that step by step, day by day, whatever the case, whatever they say. And it's really, that's the same idea we live by. Just because we're at where we're at now doesn't mean that that has changed at all. We're bricklayers, in the metaphorical sense, and also like, you know, I think you can take it as a very labor heavy job as well. Like, we're just willing to endure the work, you know. And so there's a cool dichotomy between Jonah and I. And that being said, like, if you are in a spot where you're still looking for a career path, there's no shortage to this lifestyle. You can still develop the routines, you can still develop the habits, and we want to continue to kind of expose some of those habits that worked for us. Jonah, I don't want to keep
Yeah.
talking. I want you to kind of tap in on that, because I
Yeah.
know that you can speak from good experience there.
No. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think like you said, it's a great thing about coming from two different kind of lifestyles before we met. And just to touch on, you, I might have instilled some studying work ethics and whatnot, but you know, like I said, I wasn't hammering like legs and doing the gym and being as consistent as you are. Like, for people that'll end up listening to this, Andrew is like the most consistent person in the world, like with his eating and his work ethic, going to work in general, but also like his working out. He's very serious and structured about it. And like he's a freak with it. And it's not because like he just doesn't like it's not because he's just always super motivated and he just loves it so much that it's like not a chore. He's just a grinder and he just puts in the work. And when he doesn't want to do it, he does it anyway. And that's something that we'll get into as this podcast goes on, as just like why, as part of the why we're successful basically, and why people are successful. It's because you do things even when you don't want to, you know. But
We
anyway,
talked about this when we're
yeah,
gonna die. I mean, I could talk, man. I could talk for hours
I know.
about this stuff.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna have a hard time going to sleep
getting,
tonight.
I know. Yeah, getting back to besides that, getting back to the other thing. Um, this lifestyle isn't something that you had to be born into. It's not something that your parents had to instill in you, and it doesn't matter if you're 30 years old and you're still in college, or you're 30 years old and you work a crap job and you just want to do something better or have more success. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life. You can instill simple habits and behaviors that'll help you be successful. And that's kind of what we're going to end up talking about, and take it from people that aren't millionaires. Success is very subjective, right? So
Yeah.
success for us, or for me, I'll speak for myself and Andrew can speak for himself. But like, I view success as being financially stable, where if my car breaks down, I don't have to worry. I can fix my car. If my wife wants, we're having a kid and she wants to stop working for a while and raise the kid instead of putting them through a daycare, like, we can do that and we won't struggle. Another side, or, a little bit of my background, my parents were divorced, as a lot of people are. My mom did not grow up with a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of money with my mom's side, and so she struggled a lot. And that was good for me to live that way, because I knew what I didn't want in my life, which was to struggle. And so that was a huge motivating factor for me, and something that I talked about forever that didn't matter. I was going to be in a situation where I wasn't going to struggle and the people around me weren't going to struggle either. But yeah, so that's kind of, I went off on a tangent there a little bit, but so it doesn't matter where you're at. Anybody can instill these principles.
Yeah, that made me think of something like really important too that this podcast is going to evolve a lot. And I also want to preface again with something else that Jonah and I also don't know everything. We aren't going to act like we know everything, but we know what works for us, what worked for us in the past. So I think this podcast is going to be cool because we can come from a place of experience and work ethic. We can come from a place of still enduring it, like currently. The grind hasn't stopped. I hate that like cliche saying of like, oh, the grind don't stop, but quite literally, like we're still enduring it. Like it's daily for us, and to say that we don't go through phases, and I mean, man, I go through on a daily basis. Like I'm exhausted every time I wake up, and I want to lay in bed, and continue to do it, but work has to get done, and so we can come from a place of still going through it and enduring that. And then also you can see us grow too, of like where we want to be and what it's going to take to get there. Because I think everyone has a decent idea of what it takes to do really well and succeed. It's not as cut and dry as we'd like to think it is, but sometimes, the lowest hanging fruit is just the work ethic. And I think that's a huge piece of this podcast, is a huge driver of this podcast, is developing behaviors, lifestyle, habits, routines, whatever the case is, to create more independence, whether it's financial, mental independence and strength, habits, all of the above. We can come from a place where whatever, we can find you wherever you're at as well. And we hope that resonates with everyone, because for so long we kind of have talked together about this and always wanting to like kind of take it somewhere and put it on paper or wherever. And finally we're able to do that in a place where people can listen, people can resonate, people can find common ground. They can look up to us, they can look down to us, whatever the case is. Like we want to come from a place of understanding, and we want to resonate with you as much as possible, because ultimately we want everyone to get better, so.
Right. And this is like, I'm going to read off my phone, so it's going to sound a little bit like structured, but this is kind of like our mission statement, which we've alluded to already, that we wrote down. So the whole plan is discussing routines, work ethic, and mindset that helped us be successful, like Andrew was just saying. We're just normal people. We have no special gifts, and we struggle just like everybody else, but we're determined to get shit done. And that's the bottom line. Like he talked about being bricklayers, it's just brick by brick, day by day, slowly but surely we're building in our lives every day. And it's kind of that blue collar work ethic. Bricklaying in like a very specific way is a very tedious job. And that's just kind of what it comes down to. It's a day by day, day in and day out, monotonous routine at times. Not all the time, but a lot of times. It's just about putting in the work, being uncomfortable and being okay with that, knowing what the outcome will be. And that's kind of what we were alluding to. So that's kind of like our mission statement and what we want to just discuss, about our personal experience.
Yeah. I guess we can touch on, we can probably wrap it up soon, but we can touch on some of these upcoming podcasts. We'll be talking, probably our next one is going to be, we can, chat about more of the early stages of when this kind of developed for us. And I'm sure we're going to continue to allude back to certain scenarios in our past. We want to talk about the current routines that we're in, ways to combat plateauing, complacency, stuff like that. So we're probably going to take a little bit of a flashback to our time in college of when this really began, because without a clear and concise understanding of where it all started for us, we'd kind of just be dropping you right down, smack down in the middle of our lives. And I feel like that's not really
Yeah.
like appropriate for where we're going to be taking this. We got to start from the beginning, you know.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I
and
agree.
we can talk more about our backgrounds next time. You know, childhood and whatnot. Some of the drivers for us.
Hmm.
Uh, so we don't want to bore you with too much, but it helps to have some context of where we came
Yeah.
from,
I think
which you
it's
already kind of talked
definitely
about.
important to have the background because it's if not, you could just be talking out of your ass.
Yeah, exactly.
We want everybody that is going to listen to this to relate because if you can't relate, then like you're not going to take it. You're not going to take it seriously, and it's not going to make a difference for you. It's not going to impact you if you can't relate to it. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll definitely get down to the more details of where it all started.
Yeah, and I think too. I think I'll finish up by saying a lot of the podcasts out now, and where we kind of found a little niche to be in is, you know, a lot of the podcasts now are coming from a place of people who are uber successful, and they have the $1 million house, or like, you know, they have these crazy followings, or they, you know, they've had the really good luck and background. I shouldn't have said luck because I hate that word. But they
Yeah.
had a they were in the right place at the right time, and for us it was not that way. And so this is a the way we want to take this podcast was purely to resonate with people. A lot of the people that we have conversations with, I have friends, I have, you know, family members, I have um, like just acquaintances in general that ask about habits and how to improve on that stuff, because ultimately that's what's going to make you more shredded, more successful, make you more money. Um, you know, it's those things are going to be ultimately what lead to and yield success, whatever that term means to you.
Yep.
Because you're not going to find, maybe you'll find one nowadays. Nowadays, you can do whatever you want. I mean, you can take pictures of yourself and sell them online for money, but you know, that's got to be some real hard work. But you know, someone who genuinely earned it is you're not gonna find someone that doesn't have those that the work ethic and the habits.
Yep.
And so, you know, I think someone that you know, we look up to a lot. We talk a lot about Andy Frisella. We talk about um, David Goggins, Cameron Haynes, those types of guys who just have gnarly work ethics.
Hmm.
Um, Now, those guys have huge following, you know, and so I
Right.
think that helps when we come from a place of not having that, and it's just two dudes who are making their way. They're paving their way through it. They're not there yet, but they're going to grow. And I would love to look back one day and reflect on this podcast of like this exact podcast and be like, yeah, I mean, remember those days back then when we had the dinky little cameras that we're using, and we didn't have the cool setup, and we were just trying to push content and push our stuff out there, and give it people a glimpse into our lives and the habits that it
Yep.
takes, that we all know it takes, but
Hmm.
someone to resonate with. That's what we want. We want someone to resonate with us. So even if it's one person, we don't care. We love doing this because we just
Yeah.
love talking about this stuff, you
We
know?
love talking about this stuff, and we love if we can, like he's saying, if we reach one person, then it was worth it too. That's also just who we are. Like as doctors, like we went into it wanting to help people. So if we can resonate with one person, then it's worth it for me. Plus, it's just great to talk about because we're passionate about this stuff. So there's a
Yeah.
lot. There'll be a lot of discussions and tons of topics. The topics can be endless, really, with this sort of thing, which is great.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
we
we
talk.
always joke about this would be, I mean, I think we've said before we should just record ourselves having a conversation. That's all it is for us anymore. You
Yeah,
know, like we would do this whether there was a recording button or not, you know?
yeah,
We
and
would
that's
just
the
be
other.
doing this, we'd be calling on the
So
phone
true.
talking about this.
It's
Like
so
it's
true,
just
and that's something that we're going to talk about a lot. Is just surrounding yourself with people that have the same interest in mind,
yeah,
because then it's not even like going out of your way to like talk like stuff like this. It's just what you talk about because
yeah,
that's your lifestyle and that's that person's lifestyle. So
yeah.
yeah, lots of topics to come. It's going to be good.
Yep. So stay tuned. The one or two people that watch this very first
Dad,
video.
Dad, that's
It's
what watching
probably
it.
it's probably gonna be our dads, and it's gonna be our significant others that watch
Yeah,
this.
maybe
Yeah,
Aubrey will watch it.
maybe not, maybe not. But if it's one person, we get one view, that's fine. If we get 100, that's great too. So, um, yeah, look forward to it. We are super excited to just be chatting. And, we obviously are going to be posting this on some different platforms. So we're going to have it available for people to watch, to listen on the way to work. We're recording this at what time is it, Jonah?
9:08
Yeah. So we're recording this at
p.m.
9 o'clock at night on a Wednesday. And so whatever time you're listening to this, whether it's the morning or it's night, I either hope you had your coffee or you're about to head to bed, but you're probably not going to be heading to bed because hopefully you get amped up listening to this stuff. So um, we can close with that. Thanks for listening to the first pod,
Yeah,
the
thank you.
one of none pod. And we hope that you can be one of none of your life as well. JC,
Brick
you want
by
to
brick,
end on
baby.
anything?
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick, yeah. All right.
But,
Till next time.
yep, we'll see you next time.